Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Tonight we continue the campaign, which is entitled A Time to Harvest. Our GM is Jeff Wilkins, and this is Chapter 2, Episode 1. Let me apologize if there's any problems with the video. My computer's on the fritz, and I'm using my laptop. Apparently my computer went insane from all of the content that I have on there. So, without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Jeff?
Thanks, Tom. So this officially starts Chapter 2 of A Time for Harvest. Also, can I just take a second? I want to thank people who comment. I enjoy reading the comments. So real quick little recap from last episode. It was a little bit of a fun one where some of the players / characters were getting drunk. There was a bit of a student party in a cabin in the middle of the woods. What could go wrong? Some things were seen, things happened. Long story short, you all got sort of rescued by the deputy, who ended up turning on you at the last second and threw you in the jail cell. The charge was basically drunkenness, but the sheriff, of course, with he's not messing around. He locked you up, kept you overnight. He called the professor at the school and talked to him, and the professor drove through the night, picked you guys up first thing in the morning, and basically just took you and put you on the train and sent you back to the school. So the timing on this is actually, I believe it's going to be August 20th. I didn't take the time to look up what day that was. August 20th is when you're arriving back at Miskatonic. I'm going to say that you guys were basically still, probably sleeping off hangovers. So the train ride was probably just you guys sulking and sleeping. We have a little bit of flexibility with our timing now as we're kind of moving forward now. So we don't necessarily have anything that has to be done by a certain time. So like if you guys want to do something that'll take, a day, we can just say a day and then we'll just fast forward a day. So with that said, I'll say you guys arrived back to school. You pretty much did not even get your stuff. The professor just assured you that when he returns with the other students that they'll pack everything up that was in the house and you'll get all your stuff back as soon as they get back. So let's just start at the train station. You guys get off the train. Is there anything you want to do? Anything in particular?
How many other people are with us?
It's just you guys, yeah. Well, Charlie too. We'll say Charlie.
How far is it back to the campus?
You caught me. It's not that far. The train, I think, is on the other side of the river, if memory serves.
Yeah. 5-minute drive.
Yep. You could probably walk it easily.
Yeah, 30-minute walk maybe. Just across.
I start walking back to the campus.
Yeah, I kind of do too, just because I'm thinking about everything that happened. Not sure what was real and what wasn't, because I was drunk.
So, and I might have, that's okay, never mind, I'll let you. Okay, so you're basically heading back to the school. Do you guys want to talk as you walk, or you're just kind of splitting up and going your own way?
I for one, I'm not too terribly sad that we've been sent back.
Yeah. Do you guys remember what happened last night? Was it as crazy as...
There was something in the sky. I remember there was something in the sky, and I think
there was something on the roof.
Someone got snatched up. No, not someone. There were people. Multiple people got snatched up.
But wouldn't we have heard?
Oh, it's Harry.
People were missing.
Is there like that a sense, Jeff, that there are missing people now from our students, or do we not really know that yet? Is it too early?
I'm trying to remember.
Well, didn't the professor say that he talked to Blaine?
Yes, that's what I was trying to remember. I think if memory serves, I could be wrong, but if memory serves, you guys kind of came out of the jail cell, and the professor said he talked to Blaine, and he talked to 2 other students.
To 2 of the ones that went up?
Yep.
Well, we know he said he talked to what he thought was Blaine. It must have looked like Blaine and sounded like Blaine, but so did whatever looked and sounded like Blaine when it was talking to us from the yard.
I didn't feel like it was the drink making me see that.
I didn't either.
And how could the drink make 2 of us see the same thing anyway?
There was definitely something up in that roof, guys. Maybe we should talk to the other guys when they get back, or if they're around.
Yeah, and see if they're acting.
What we should do is go to the library and see how quickly any of us can find a description of anything that seems anything like this. We have an extensive folklore collection here, and probably more esoteric things as well.
You know, that's a good idea, because someone would have seen if that place is like that and people don't live there because those things are there, then someone must have spoken about it before. There must have been other settlers who tried to live there before. I mean, who lived in that house before? There must be some tale. There must be a reason why that house is empty. And
the dead woman with consumption, or should I say, Tug, the undead woman, who you kept saying was probably a vampire.
Vermont vampires.
Well, so there's plenty of folklore to sort through.
The mole men.
You know, and the Pukwudgies as well.
I never heard of anything like those mole men, though.
No, that was uncommon.
The only Vermont tale I know is that a fella that my father knew, who was one of the ranchers from out west. He came from a place in Vermont, and he said there's something about starfish in the trees or some rubbish like that.
But their nose looked like starfish.
I don't know.
And they came out of the trees.
I think, really, I've got a feeling like there's a lot of moonshine comes out of Vermont.
Yeah, but we know what we saw, though.
It would have to be more than moonshine to make us see anything like that.
Yeah, I hadn't been drinking when I saw what I saw before.
What is it, Tug? Do you remember something?
I'm not a chemist or anything, but most of that alcohol we were drinking was pretty rough. I mean, what if that guy had been? It wasn't like anything he bought from the store. It was stuff that he'd been making, moonshine. And,
like Jasper said, how would it make us all see the same thing?
Well, maybe that was just, what did they call it? Psycho Banana's suggestion, or
what you just said sounds like bananas. What would suggest something like that?
Mass hysteria. We were getting pretty scared there towards the end.
Yeah, but what we saw up in the cabin and in the woods, Tom, Tug.
No, we weren't drunk then.
I'm just going to take the flint, the knife.
There's a cover going on. There's a cover,
and I'm just going to hold it up and say, I didn't imagine that.
That's right. I still think that. I still think the town authorities know something.
But we're just talking about last night.
Why are we only talking about last night?
What I don't understand is if they know something about it, then why would they let a bunch of college kids go up there?
Better us than them.
Because we'll just sound like crazy college kids.
And if
why did they let us go up there in the first place? I mean,
it is a bit short-sighted to allow the occasional outsider to perish. but no one's solved their mystery yet.
No,
Perhaps they'd still rather that than have to offer up one of their own.
You know what I just thought about? You remember that shimmering sort of doorway?
Well, I certainly hope I'll never forget it.
What if the things that are happening up there aren't permanent, that they're coming through the doorway, doing stuff, and then going back through the doorway?
Which only opens every so often.
Like maybe those mole people aren't there all the time. Maybe those demons living in the basement aren't there all the time.
So they could be...
Because your friend, John Jeffries, disappeared.
Well,
You unhooked him.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, when we found him, and he had those, and I'll sort of look around at this point, just worried that there might be eavesdroppers. But when they found him with those wires, when we found him with those wires in his head, that does make me think of that what you're saying has some validity. I mean,
like it was some kind of transmission.
Yeah, well, if it was creatures from some other world who had come through a portal, then I find that easier to believe than the idea of mythical mole men or things like that.
Maybe
I
you're
can
right.
get my head around the idea of something that, I mean, there's a scientific basis to that, isn't there? That there must be other things in the universe, and perhaps this is a way for us to contact them. But
And if these things have happened now, maybe they happened before. And like you say, there might be books. Maybe the Indians saw things. Maybe, and they called them, I don't know, people of the moon, and or children of the sky, or whatever. And they
maybe where these strange things happen, it's something the same happening there too.
That kind of lore is not uncommon among the Indian peoples,
and
but
then
I don't
when you
know of
go
any
back,
local to here.
when they say, we saw these people over there, and everybody goes to look, and nobody's there.
But if
they,
if we were sent out there, and some people at least know what's out there, were we sent out there as a sacrifice, do you think?
Yes. What about the poem the child wrote? There's obviously I find it, I guess, belief almost worse than the things we saw, but it does surely appear that there's some kind of...
Why would someone do that?
But I don't think they...
How long have they been doing it?
Because if they sent us out there as a sacrifice, everybody knew where we were.
People have done things like this for centuries.
But think about...
They wouldn't all have to be in on it, only some.
You could send homeless people out there.
How many homeless people do you think they have in that village?
You could probably you'd probably bring in all the homeless people you want with a free meal, and then nobody would ever miss them when they disappeared.
But we don't know. We don't know how many such impoverished folk are in that town.
I like your idea about going to Miskatonic. Maybe we can find some stuff.
Well, why don't you three head to the library? You mentioned chemists. I'm going to stop by the organic chemistry, see if anyone's around. I'm certainly not going to tell them where I found the jar, but it's not going to do us any good sitting on my shelf at home.
I've got an idea. While you're there talking to the chemists, maybe ask some of them if they know anything about Federated Oil and Chemical.
All right.
I don't know whether they've got some sort of deal with the university, whether they're just financing the university, but they arranged for that trip. And do you think they might have been in on it? I mean, I don't know. They're not a local company, are they? But
Well,
So
who
is that-
knows how common...
I guess I'm seeing shadows everywhere.
Is that the name of the company that paid for us to go there?
Yeah.
It's all right,
yeah,
Jasper. There are
that's
shadows
what we
everywhere.
This is
Yeah,
all
I'll
very
see if
worrying.
they recognize the name.
So have you still got that jar, Jerry, of goo?
Jeff, I check for the jar. Do I still have the jar? I had it on the train. I didn't sleep on the train. Do I still have the jar?
Do a luck roll. No, I'm just kidding. Just a minute.
Okay. I just nod.
Well, at least we might be able to get some answers, but I think we should speak to the librarian because I'm rubbish at looking in the library, and I can never find what I'm looking for.
You've taken folks out and used them for shooting practice, I bet.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Actually, what year are we in again?
1930.
1930.
What year are we in?
Yeah.
Damn.
Danny, if
How
you
hard did you hit your head, Tuck?
Danny, if you don't think you'll have much luck in the library, if you want to come along with me to the chemist, at least then there'll be two of us there.
I was just wondering about the duodecimal system.
Well, either way, but that's where I'm headed first.
All
And
right.
so, Jeff, I proceed to head in that way, if anyone wants to come or not. But either way, if they all go to the library, I'll meet them back there. Otherwise, some of us could go with me.
I think I'm at my best in the library.
Jasper, you need to find out where that rock came from.
Have I got that? I think that was Little Rod that had that.
Oh. Was it Rod?
I think it was Rod.
I remember something about it.
Well, I'm sure if you ask him, Rod will go and get it checked out.
Okay. Damn.
What about the knife? What about the knife, Jasper?
Yeah, Jasper's got that. He already pulled it out once.
Yeah, I've got it in it. Hang on.
But do you want to
Oh,
take
hang on,
it to
hang on. Oh, hang on a minute.
If you got the
I've got
knife-
both of them. I've got the rock as well.
It's almost as if you were the two people at the same time.
What, like in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Heckle?
Yeah. Heckle and Jekyll.
Heckle and Jekyll, yeah.
Oh.
Those fellas, yeah.
We just did two universes.
Played brilliantly, I think.
Heckle and Jekyll? Well, I can see your knowledge of
definitive-
anthropology and folklore exceeds your familiarity with Gothic literature, Jasper. But I don't think that will stop you from having that
I've
identity
seen a groundbreaking performance of it.
of Heckle and Jekyll. I'm sure
Yes,
you have.
Heckle and Jekyll, performed by the Chuckle Brothers. Barry Chuckles Heckle was it was like watching the great Donald.
And I'm sure if you were actually two people, Jasper, you could give us a stunning rendition of the same.
I am two people to you to me. That was the tagline of the performance.
Well, that's almost profound.
If you've ever seen one of their shows, you would never forget it, I promise you. Anyway.
Rest in peace.
I think we should go and see the librarian. Somebody. Who do you? Any of you guys know do you use the library a lot, Jasper?
I love the library. It's my favorite place on campus, to be honest.
It's a good place.
Well, look, Jasper, if I'm headed toward the College of the Sciences, if you'd rather go to the library now, I can take the knife and the jar, and then meet you all back if you prefer.
All right, I'm gonna interrupt. I'm gonna pull a GM move here, only because there's one other thing that I need to take place. So if you don't mind, these are all good thoughts, good ideas. But the way I'm going to sort of do this is that you guys are still exhausted. You just had a horrible night, horrible experience. You know, your head's spinning, you're physically drained. So what I think I would like to do is you guys have this discussion, and then rather than go do it all right now, you go back to your homes, you get a good night's sleep, and then this will be your plan for tomorrow morning.
That's a good idea.
Hell, I need a good wash.
I'm glad that lecturer came in there and told us to do that because I'm too exhausted anyway.
Thanks, sir.
It's kind of like that little, the voice in the back of your mind. Your
Well,
mom's.
probably as I assume for Jerry, I'm getting close to campus. I'm seeing which way I'd head home. Suddenly, I realize how much better it would be to go crash first than to go all the way to the science department. Come to think of it, I don't know. I don't know who will be in what office, but I do know that my bed is that way. If I'm going to head there myself anyway, I think I will leave you gentlemen to recover in your own ways on your own time.
All right.
I need sleep.
I'm gonna head to my dorm too, and it's the middle of the morning though, isn't it? So.
Well, you know what? Actually, you guys got on the first train out, so that would have been in the morning. But I was thinking, just for the sake of the story, the train, I think, it's slow. Even though it's a direct route, you still have stops every so often, so it takes a while. So just for the sake, I think we'll say it's like mid-afternoon.
Okay.
And then, can you guys remind me, Tug, you just mentioned the dormitory, so you're on campus. Jerry, you're off campus, right? You have a house or an apartment?
I rent a house.
Rent a house. And Danny and Jasper, do you?
I'm on campus.
I think I'll say I'm on campus as well.
Okay.
I want to try and move to a different room because I've got that idiot Barlow opposite me. He's a classic student. They're all perverts, classic students. You know that. Honestly, some of those drawings.
Jerry, do you have a vehicle, if I recall? How do you get about?
It's close enough to walk. I don't recall having a vehicle, actually.
Okay, that's fine. I was just trying to refresh my own.
Yeah.
As Jerry's walking away, Danny shouts, "Stay away from the trees." The first thing Danny will do when he gets to his dormitory is go and tuck his pistol away to wherever it is he would keep it, at the bottom of the wardrobe or something like that, pack it away.
Wait, quick out of character question. Did they actually give us our weapons back?
If you made your luck roll, yeah.
If you made your luck roll. Okay. I don't remember whether I made a luck roll or not. Hey, that's realistic, isn't it? Okay, so I'm assuming I don't, in fact, have my firearm. Correct. Is that correct? Okay.
If you remember right, your firearm was actually missing.
Oh, right. So there was no option for them to give it back because, as far as I know, the law doesn't have it.
Right.
Okay.
My small crude flint knife wouldn't have been classified as a weapon, would it? And I am an anthropology student. I mean, I've got every reason to pick up a little bit of napped flint and think, "Oh, that's interesting. I'll keep that in my pocket." With the other bit of stone.
Well, you know what? I'm thinking, would the deputy have been on the ball enough to do a search? And I think he would have said, I think he would have. But at the same time, I think he would have patted you down, found this sort of crude stone, and kind of looked at it and just tossed it aside as if it was like a whistle, what are you going to do with this? But realizing that, it was sharp and pointy, he didn't want you to have it while you were in the jail cell. But when you left, he gave it back to you because it's a rock.
Oh, well, I've got that. So you could say I'm in like Flint.
There you go.
I'm just going to go up to the dorm, get undressed and climb into bed. And
I'm sorry, I'll leave.
I assume my roommate will be in later because he's probably either still in class or he'll...
technically, the school has not started yet.
Okay, well, then he's out with friends.
You got, you're still... You can, the library's open. You can still prepare for school. The buildings are open. Teachers are filtering in. So, it's still busy. It's just not actually started, that's all. I believe September 10th is the first day of school.
Okay.
I think my immediate plan is that I am going to go and have a wash, and then I'm going to lie down on my bed and have a little nap for half an hour, and then find myself a little bit surprised and bewildered when I wake up the next morning.
Jerry probably takes a bath and cleans up, leaving the jar where he can see it, not on the edge of any counter or surface it could be knocked from to the floor by a tired or clumsy person. Takes the bath, gets out of the bath, just tries to wake himself up a bit, decides how crazy this is, decides he doesn't care how crazy it is, fishes around in his like small collection of like random occult and Aleister Crowley books, and tries to do some kind of protection, right, like out of the book, you know, holding it with one hand, probably using like a kitchen knife or something, totally ill-equipped, decides he feels safer, and sleeps with the jar again, where he could reach it, where he could see it if he wakes up, not near the edge of a bedside table where he could knock it off in his sleep, but certainly not put anywhere out of sight. Yeah.
Do we get hit point back for sleeping?
Hit points. Yes. What are your current statuses? Like how many have you lost?
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
I've lost 3.
3
out of 12.
Jasper and Danny, how many have you lost?
None.
None.
Also
Show
none.
Show off.
The guy with a gun.
I'll say Tug and Jerry, you easily get 1 back, and I'll just say I'm being nice to you, so do a 1d4 to see if you get the other 2 back.
Oh.
Wait. 1d4, so 1 and 2 would be 1 point, 3 and 4 would be 2 points.
Okay, so I got 2 points back total.
So you're full health.
And how about sanity? Same thing?
Sanity, no. Sanity was, we went over that, I think, last time with there were some rewards given out.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I marked this one. Okay.
And I'm back up to full health now.
Great.
How about luck?
Physically, anyway.
Yeah, Tug, I forgot now the numbers. Tug, you lost 7? And Danny, you lost
5.
5. Jasper, how much luck did you spend?
I didn't spend any.
Okay. Jerry?
I have 2 points of luck remaining out of an original. I don't know where the original was written down. If it was written down, it must have been. Oh yeah, on the type sheet I have it. Yes, my original luck was 50. I now have 2.
Wow.
Do you realise when you get to no luck, you just disappear?
Down an open manhole.
You can no longer.
All right. That's extreme. I wasn't expecting that.
Neither was I.
So how about Tug and Danny? Why don't you guys roll a d8? Jerry,
I remember rolling something. That's why I have 2. Before I rolled, I had 1. So you had us roll something. I rolled 1. I got 1 back. And I have 2.
I got 1 point.
I'm back up to 70.
Jerry, do a. Let me see. I'm trying to do math in my head. Do a 1d100, but take half.
Okay. I guess Jerry could decide to open one of his books and try to be like, where is the spell for luck? Okay.
So
Take half of
theoretically, you could get all 50 points back, but
right. So it's a half of a D100.
Yeah, let's do that. See how lucky you actually are.
I rolled 99. So apparently so. Hey, wow, it worked. It's not going to do anything for Jerry's sanity, but it helped his luck. That's great.
That's quite lucky because the GM is about to ask you to roll a luck roll to see if anything crawls out of that jar on your face.
I love the idea of getting luck back, and I always just picture characters running around looking for black cats to stroke, or chasing this terrified dwarf down the road, just going, I want to rub your head. And it's going, look, I'm a 54-year-old accountant. Leave me alone. I'm just getting on with my life.
Why not? Let's say that in Jerry's somewhat manic, frazzled condition, he decides he needs to do something to raise his fortunes and more or less figure something out, or thinks he has. I think is more the point. So Jerry now believes he has succeeded in making himself more fortunate, which I think fits his particular degeneration of sanity. I think.
I'm going to take that idea. I'm going to run with it. I got it.
I guess I deserve it after rolling a 99 just to get my luck back. So, yeah.
Let's man, I'm tempted. You said earlier about doing the ritual with a knife, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming he doesn't actually do this stuff really, so he doesn't have any of the tools. So he just got a knife from the kitchen. Yeah,
like a steak knife or a butter knife, or
I'm sure he bothered to find a steak knife. The butter knife is just too ridiculous, and I'm sure he has steak knives.
All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let you use your luck, your brand new luck, right away. First of all, I'm gonna give you two options. So Jerry's going to believe that he's got his newfound luck because he has a lucky charm.
Oh, well, in that case, we'll just assume that he's actually trying to make himself a talisman, according to some description.
But where I want the luck roll to come in is Jerry's not sure whether or not it's this new form of talisman or if it's the jar.
Well, I'm sure Jerry is still rational enough to very well think it could be either. And he's certainly never letting the jar out of his sight anyway, if he can help it.
So then which one would you want it to be, and then we'll put that to a luck roll.
Which one would I want it to be, or which one would Jerry want it to be?
Yeah, Jerry.
Wow, what an interesting question. Which one would he want it to be? I guess he would want it to be the talisman, because that meant that all that stuff works and he'd have control over it.
Mm-hmm.
It would be really creepy and actually exceedingly disturbing if it was the jar.
So let's do a luck roll. If you pass your luck roll, it's your talisman. If you fail it, Jerry's more inclined to do
so funny. All right. I failed it. So what causes him to think it's the jar? Or does he not know why he thinks it?
Yeah, he's not quite sure, but he's got that seed of doubt. You know?
Well, okay. So you're saying he thinks it could be the jar.
Right. Like, he rationalized it to be the talisman.
Right.
But now he's like, oh, man, but was it?
Well, probably there's one other explanation. He also puts the talisman on top of the jar when he goes to sleep. He wakes up. He may or may not dream anything. I guess he'll tell me. But when I wake up, what do I see? Jar, talisman. Perhaps I also see that the jar isn't as close to the... Probably I fell asleep worrying it was too close to the edge of the thing. Maybe in my sleep I think I almost knock it off. I wake up. It's just sort of toward the edge, but it's the wrong edge. Did I almost knock the jar off? Maybe the jar is actually lucky now. Maybe I've used up the luck from the talisman on the jar. I look at the talisman and realize it's all wrong anyway. I was sleep deprived. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not sure I really believe in this stuff, but I know there's something weird about the jar. Obviously, it's like otherworldly, literally probably. So I guess it's got to be the jar. Maybe I shouldn't mess with the jar, but I should keep the jar with me at all times. So.
And I'll just throw one more thing. You know, it's in the back of your mind. If something happens to that talisman / jar, maybe you're going to lose your luck.
Well, I would expect that. If it would be such a horribly unlucky thing, I don't even know.
Right.
It would be a calamity for science, magic, and my sanity, and luck also. So, yeah, the jar is the thing. I take a very good look at the jar without taking the risk of exposing it directly to too much light, but I've never really taken a good look. I'm not opening it, but I really am taking a look. What do I see in the jar?
Luck.
A rabbit's foot.
I was trying to hold back there, Tom, but that was too good.
Leprechaun.
I wanted to say there that Jerry saw his own face in the jar.
Broken pieces of mirror.
So all the bad luck is sealed inside.
It's like liquidy jelly almost. It's a very darkish brown color. But when you kind of like move it around and all, there are objects in the jelly that are sort of moving with it.
Oh.
Maybe about like that big or so. But it's hard to it's hard to tell what they are because they kind of look brown too because of the jelly.
So probably I'm still feeling pretty tripped out, hopefully not hungover too much anymore. But, what time is it when I wake up? Is it dark out or light?
You tell me.
Well, I would assume that Jerry's going to sleep for like over 10 hours, so
Okay.
Probably maybe more, but he's not averse to waking up at night. He wouldn't try to sleep through to the morning because he's a night person anyway. So.
Okay. Let's just say then like before dawn, so it's like kind of dark.
Okay, this is great. So he knows nothing is going to happen at the university till like morning. So he's going to sit there trying to scry in the darkness of the jar, both for practical purposes because he wants to know what's in there, but he doesn't want to open it. But also, if it's the magic lucky jar now, maybe he'll gain some insight into the otherworldly beings from whence the jar, originated. So that might put me. I don't know how long everyone else is going to take to do their thing, but Jerry's going to be tripping on the jar for a little while until we're all back together. Okay. So you can tell me later if anything happens other than he gets really bored.
All right.
Or really crazy, or both.
Jasper, you woke up normal time, say in the morning, you slept all night. Anything you want to do upon waking?
Yeah, I had this weirdest dream. I've got this strange desire to buy a really big packet of chips and some dip. Didn't Jerry have a jar of something? I wonder what that tastes like. It looked quite savory.
Same question to Tug and Dan. You guys want to do anything special when you first wake?
Yeah, I get up my usual time, 6 a.m. I go out and I row out to the island and then back and forth and then come back.
Okay.
Clean up.
I think Danny would be starving when he wakes up after everything, so he goes and gets himself some snacks.
And as I'm rowing, I'm wondering if Cherry's ever going to get up enough nerve to taste those rat's testicles that are in that jar that he's got.
So, Tug, when you return to your dorm room, Danny, when you're sitting there eating a decent breakfast, first decent food you've had in a long time, Jasper, you see it, hear a noise from your door, and Jerry, you sort of come out of your trance and you are looking around your living room, and all of three of you basically have a note slid under your door.
Oh, God, it's not Barlow again.
What the hell?
What's he complaining about?
If we have a roommate, is our roommate there yet? Or, well, they would have slept there, wouldn't they?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. But I see it first.
Yeah, my mom made sure I got a room on my own because I'm sensitive.
All right.
So Danny just looks at his note like everybody else.
Yep. Basically, it's a nice envelope. It's got your name on it. And when you open it up, it's an official-looking letter from the dean of the school. And it's basically instructing you guys to meet at his office at 8 a.m.
Shit.
Well, we're going to get into trouble.
I got to take a quick shower.
Yeah. Do the same.
I'm going to have a shower, and then after the shower, I'm going to fill the sink with cold water and just plunge my head into it. And then
I'm going to finally get to find out that question that I've wanted to know for so long, and that's why are all the people in charge named Dean?
Well,
not all, yeah, but not all of them go into the academic sphere, do they? Dean Kane,
Dean Martin.
He went, yeah, Dean Martin. He went into music and drinking. Dean Kane went into acting, as did the other Dean. His surname I can't remember. Who was in Quantum Leap?
Wait, you're talking future stuff. Stop it. It's as if somebody came back from the future and
that was in the
told you all
past.
about it. Yeah.
And of course Dean Gaffney, who was the sidekick of an Alsatian in a British soap opera.
well,
All right.
Sorry,
So
German Shepherd.
Danny goes to the office when it's all ready.
I'm all right. I'm all on my way to the office too.
sure. His name is actually Marinus. I don't know if I'm saying that correct.
Marinus.
Marinus. Bickness.
Jerry tries to put on his tries to dress up, put on his best clothes.
Okay.
Not like probably his like dressiest clothes that he'd ever wear to campus. Assuming he has and he doesn't wear them often, so I'm sure they're clean. So best jacket, best tie thing.
Okay.
Obviously has the jar. Hopefully not too much of a like crazy bulge in the jacket pocket. And makes a rare effort to be punctual, which I guess is okay because he woke up at like 3 a.m, so I think I can manage.
I'm usually relatively well turned out, but I do tend to be wearing a rather ratty looking old raccoon skin coat. I'm going to leave my I'll leave my raccoon skin coat in my dorm room this time and venture out in just my suit and my hat.
And I can hear my mom's voice in my ear saying, Tug, you got to dress up nice to talk to the dean. So that's what I do.
That's me. Come on, we've got to go. You need to start locking your room, Tug, for goodness sake.
No,
Anyone.
He left the door unlocked.
So the letter was just put under the door?
Yep.
Okay. And
Right.
even with effort, no weird dreams were called?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. This is the first decent night's sleep you guys have had in a very long time.
Fair enough. Okay, so head there.
So, yeah, you guys make your way over to the dean's office. There's a secretary there. She, welcomes you in and tells you to just sit there and wait until he calls you in. So
Is it just us four?
Yeah. For some reason, Charlie's not there.
Okay.
So there's like a series of chairs lined up. You guys are all sitting in the chair, and you're basically waiting. Do you guys want to talk at all, or fast forward?
Do you guys think that we're in trouble?
Yeah, I think we might be.
Or do you think they're going to tell us that everybody in the whole thing disappeared except for us?
No, I think it's the cops. They would have just said we were causing trouble.
Just as long as they don't tell us that we're being sent down, I couldn't.
Jeff, what do we know about the dean?
Face telling my parents that.
Very little, actually. I mean, I would think most students really rarely pay attention as to who's who. I mean, you might know the name, but
He's an ancient Roman named Marinus Bickness. Sounds like a disease. I came down with a bad case of Marinus Pictus.
Wasn't the Reichstag burnt down by someone called Marinus something?
So after...
Sorry, I was having another premonition, sorry.
After what seems to be a very long time, eventually the secretary gets up and she says, the dean will see you now. Let you guys into his office. There's 2 chairs in front of his desk. What do you guys do? And he's behind his desk, and he's just looking down at his desk, and he's writing.
I'll stand up. People who can talk good should sit.
I stay standing there.
I'm going to stand up because I simply haven't got the courage to be the first one to sit down.
And seeing as everybody else is standing, I just stand with.
Yeah.
Looking awkward.
So again, after what seems to be a long period of time, he's basically just letting you guys sit there and squirm. He finally puts his pen down and he looks up at the 4 of you. And he just starts shaking his head. What do you guys have to say for yourself? I can't imagine the amount of trouble that you've gotten into.
Is everybody else okay? Did everybody come back?
They're supposed to be back today from what I hear.
Sir, I hope you'll believe me when I say to you that
he
everything
cuts you off. He cuts you off mid-sentence, and he takes out another sheet of paper, and he starts looking at it, and he says, it says here, disorderly conduct, drunkenness, in the time of prohibition, raucous behavior. I mean, he just starts going down this list, and then he looks at you, Jerry, and he says, and you, Mr. Dorn, assaulting a police officer, resisting arrest? I don't know how you're standing here in front of me and you're still not in that little jail cell.
They're not being honest with you, sir.
You're telling me the police chief of this small town in Vermont is lying to me?
Sir, he started giving us trouble first day that we arrived there.
This is true, sir.
They clearly didn't really want us to be there, sir. They made that clear. I don't think they were interested in outsiders poking around, learning anything about their town, least of all folklorists. Maybe they didn't mind about the scientists, but they believe some strange things there, and well, there are a few strange things there as well.
I think they were trying to scare us. I think they were trying to scare us. They were making noises and they were throwing things at the cabin at night and making us think things were out in the forest. It was at first we thought it was
very hostile and insular, wasn't it?
Well, at first we thought it was kind of funny, but then it started to get really bad. And last night it was terrible. It was like there was something attacking the whole house. Everybody was scared.
I still don't know what to make of it, but clearly those people either have something to hide or think they do. And in a town like that...
He's listening to all of you.
Well, sir, I don't think you'd find it surprising if the local police were just as much, or if not more hostile to outsiders than the villagers would be.
Well, something happened because when the policeman came to the house, we thought he was there to help us. And we went to the police station because we thought we were giving evidence about something bad that had happened, and then suddenly we became the suspects, and he didn't want to even listen to our side of the story, and he just all but stood there and told us this list of things he was making up.
I think he was trying to impress the sheriff, because when he wasn't around the sheriff, he was acting nice towards us, and then he kind of lured us in and suddenly treated us like criminals.
Honestly, sir, we're Miskatonic men through and through. None of us is a drunken reprobate at all.
They didn't like city people. They didn't want us there.
And excuse me, sir, but we also found a missing girl from the village when nobody else did, and
Yes,
we
that's
brought her back to the police, and then this is what they did.
Do you know, I think that the police were I think it was just sour grapes because we found the girl and they didn't.
Maybe.
That's all I think it was, that they just resented that.
It certainly does seem to their discredit that, again, in such a small community, a mentally unfit young woman could wander alone into the woods and be discovered by students tied in a cabin.
They had to assert their authority, so if I may say so, it's not unlike the behavior of higher primates.
It was an unsettling experience.
And with that, he slammed his hand down on the desk and he's like, "All right, enough of these stories. I can't take this anymore. You guys are all over the map. You can't even get your story straight. I don't want to hear any more of this. Just, I want you to know two things. Number one, you guys better straighten up and fly right. This is going on your permanent record. You managed to somehow keep yourselves out of jail for the moment, but be aware, you guys, I'll be watching you. Dismissed."
All right. Well, I won't say nothing on the way out.
Me neither.
Apparently some luck is rubbing off on us from somewhere. I don't know. Ew.
Yeah, it's kind of gooey.
So like once we're out, it's like, oh my God, guys. What the fuck?
We've been totally set up here.
Oh, hey, Jeff, I didn't want to interrupt the Dean's monologue, but I would like to roll psychology to see if he actually believed us, or if he looked like he did.
You don't need the roll.
Oh, really? Okay.
He didn't.
Okay, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's an idiot then. So
just so everybody knows, that's not necessarily me being bad at role playing, being angry. That's like me being angry. So.
No, it makes total sense. They're not going to believe kids what the police say.
No, he seemed about as angry as a high administrator really would be, right? Like, he's not personally insulted, really. He just wants us to know it's not appropriate.
Right, right.
So.
Besides, there's nothing wrong with drinking. Just prohibition.
Yeah.
He's probably sitting with his whiskey flask in his drawer there.
Yeah,
he's probably having some.
He did his
share
of drinking in his undergraduate days.
Well, from what I understand, isn't the prohibition is about the buying and selling of alcohol. We didn't buy any alcohol.
You know, back in the Dean's day, they had drinking societies here. Right, proper drinking.
Probably still part of it.
Of course they did, but that was a civilized time.
We should
opens up and he looks out and he's like,
we should go back there and burn their entire village to the ground.
I don't think that would help.
I like the idea of that. I think we should just adopt that as the answer to all. Yeah, this could be a new political ideology.
Has anybody got access to dynamite?
No.
Maybe the chemists. Do you want me to ask?
I'm going to the library. You guys coming?
Yeah. Yes.
I need to. I need to go see who will be available when in the laboratories.
Okay. All right.
And then I'll meet you all at the library.
Danny and Jasper, where are you going?
Oh, I'm going to the library. I need the library right now. I crave the quiet.
Danny's were thinking he could maybe go and speak to the head of the folklore kind of if there's a lecturer, if he's around. He might not be around at this time. I don't know. If not, I'll just go to the library with other guys.
Bilbo Bradley.
Yeah, him.
Well,
That's
hold
what
on.
we call him.
Yep, figures. Nope, here we go. The first person that comes to your mind, Danny, the person that you would want to talk to is actually Professor Harold, who is the one who organized the whole folklore trip.
Okay.
But he's the one that went into the town and rescued you from the jail cell and sent you back. So he's currently not there. He's
Okay. I'll go to the library with the guys then.
okay.
Right.
Jerry, let's go with you because you said you were going to be returning to the library.
Well,
right?
I'm thinking if you want to play it, if it's easier for us to stay together, it could well be that it's obvious by going to the College of Sciences, finding the chemistry department, that nobody's in the labs right now, but they will be back at such an hour that will allow me to join up everyone at the library, and then I can take us all off to the chemists if other people want to come. Or if you want to play a quick scene, either way, it's fine.
Yeah, just tell me what's your intent. Like, what are you?
Oh well, my intent is to. Unless I now have a different intent, and you'll have to tell me if I do, given my different experience of the jar. But if I wasn't able to discern anything just from staring at it, I'm still a scientifically minded sort. So I want to take it to the organic chemistry people, see if they can take a sample of it and make some sense of it. They're probably not going to get him to leave the whole jar. And if they... Well, I hope they don't try, and so does Jerry, I guess. But we can play that out if they do. But the goal is to open it under controlled conditions. Let them have a sample. Maybe if I can see there's stuff in there, maybe let them try to fish the stuff out, or part of the stuff, or one of the stuffs. But obviously, he really wants to know what it is. And if it has special properties, that would be even more important to know, right? Than just like sitting in a jar. And he knows, I mean, he'll want to be or he knows he's not a scientist, but he's good at observing the natural world, so he'd want to be around for the test if they do one, sort of look, what does it smell like, all the sensory stuff about the jar.
So here's how I think when you get to the correct location, the correct room, you open a door, and inside there's what are they called, like a teacher's assistant sort of thing.
Sure.
So not an actual professor, but somebody
Right.
who either works for him or possibly another student.
Right.
And he kind of looks up, and you explain to him what you kind of explained to me. And now he's just sort of like looking at you like, why and where did you get this? Like, what are you going to tell him?
It's a sample retrieved from some old stores of I'm not sure what. You see, we were doing folkloristic research in this town of Cobb's Corners, Vermont. We had gone along with the geology students who had. Do you know that? I can't quite recall the name. That oil company that came up with a lot of funding, sponsorship for the department. Does that ring a bell? I can't quite recall the name. And like I said, I do folklore, not science. Obviously, Jeff Cherry knows he's lying. He just wants to see whether the person looks like they know what he's talking about. Do they?
He has a confused look on his face.
Maybe it was a different department. Anyway, the folklore students had gone along with the science students. While we were there, we thought we'd learn about local lore. It turns out there were all manner of witchcraft legends and strange Indian tales. And sure enough, some old woman had acquired what looked like extensive supplies of old recipes and such not. But some of them predated her. They'd been in some root cellar for God knows how many years. And, well, I'm just rightly quite curious as to what it is. It doesn't do much good to correlate folkloric research about folk remedies without knowing what's actually in the thing.
Do you think this is dangerous?
Well, I wouldn't recommend the first test to be a taste test. It may well have hallucinogenic properties.
Okay, he says, just leave it on my desk and come back in about a couple hours. Give me a couple hours.
Well, if I have nowhere else to be, if you don't mind, I mean, I'm no chemist by any means, but I have a passing interest in natural sciences. Do you mind if I wait along while you perform the test? I haven't opened it yet. I was afraid to expose it to the air under uncontrolled conditions.
He kind of is a little bit hesitant, and he's like, I don't really mind. It's just that I have to do these other things first. So if you don't mind waiting, that's fine.
No rush. I don't mind.
Okay. All right, then in that case, I'm going to go back to the library where it'll be just the three of you guys.
Oh.
What are you looking for?
I'm just glad to be in the peace and quiet of the library for a moment.
I'm going to see if there's any folklore from the Indians in southern Vermont. If there's any mentions of any animals living in the woods.
Do you know, I'm going to go in a very similar direction and look for old newspaper accounts or just accounts from settlers, but principally in newspapers, going back as far as I can for that area. Or actually, there must be quite a lot of folklore generally for Vermont.
I think while the guys are getting their noses into books and that, Danny will look for the librarian if they're around and ask them if they know about the trip that we were on, and talk about the area and ask them if there's anything specific to that kind of area in the library.
Did you say talk about the alien?
The area of the trip.
Okay. Gotcha.
Unless it was Area 51, but
okay, sure. The librarian did not know about the trip. So she doesn't have a lot to add to that. I'll ask Tug and Jasper to do library rules.
Okay.
Let's put this down. Oh, 39. What is my
94.
Oh, I got 39 out of 40. That's pretty good.
Okay.
That's pretty good for Tug.
Tug, I'm going to say
asleep.
Tug, I'm going to say you find a book about the Abenaki Indians, the legends. Apparently, they were a tribe in the Vermont area.
Okay.
The
Abenaki.
Jasper, I'm going to kind of give you the reverse. You're in the Miskatonic Library, which is actually known for having quite a large selection about folklore. So it's almost like you're overwhelmed with the stuff that you're finding. You know what I mean? It's almost like too much information.
So there's a whole wealth of folklore for the region, but none of it actually concerning any of the things that we've seen.
I'll kind of give you the short version in that, you know, being folklore, it's always mixed with half-truths.
Mm-hmm.
So just when you think, this is exactly what we saw. Then in the very next sentence, it says, well, they didn't have long tentacle type mouths, but instead they had whiskers, like long whiskers. So it's like everything is like, sometimes it seems like you're on the right track, and sometimes there are things that do make sense with what you saw, but then you start to then wonder and question, well, maybe they're talking about something different, or it's really hard to
be projecting,
right?
Danny, after a while, Danny's probably getting bored. Could he specifically go in? His not library is not very good, but could he specifically try and find something on the kind of mole men, natural world kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I give it a go.
Sure.
Yeah, 06.
Wow.
Out of 25. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, 25. He's never this lucky in the library.
And I hate to do this to you, but you don't find anything.
But he finds a really good magazine or something, sits reading it about shooting.
Yeah.
Fishing,
hunting.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's excellent. It's one of the best magazines he's read.
Yeah. So
it's just when Ken was saying that, it's for me the audio just cut out for just a moment when he was saying the word shooting, which made it sound like he was saying something much ruder and funnier. So,
maybe that's what he was reading.
Yes, it was a vintage publication.
Maybe it was
Mr. Kellogg.
One of these 1930s rude magazines,
Oh, I was thinking it was more something along the sort of health and the sanitary concerns thing. Maintaining a healthy bowel.
It was just me trying to do a Sean Connery accent.
Oh, no.
Well, it's a bit anticlimactic, but I'm going to say you guys kind of spend the rest of the morning there. If you have any sort of direct questions, you can maybe ask me, and I'll see if I can fill things in. But
there is something I'd quite like to ask the librarian.
Okay.
Me, I was just wondering, how would I, if I had the name of a company, which I think is quite a large national company, how would I go about finding out who the names of the people on the board of that company were? Is that something we'd have here in the university library, or would I maybe need to go to the Chamber of Commerce or something to find that out?
It's a good question. I think that's a good library roll. So it's almost like a luck roll to see what you can find. See how much she or he can help you.
I got 10 out of 40.
Wow. Okay. Now, mind you,
hard.
I may not be able to answer all your questions, but just give me 1 second to open. Let's see, is this going to tell me? Okay. I have a little bit of information. You were looking to find out, so the name of the company is the Federated Oil and Chemical Company.
Mm-hmm.
Successful company. What in particular were you looking for again?
I'd like to know who their chief executives are. I'd also quite like to know, I mean, I wouldn't be able to find it out here. I'd have to ask one of the people involved, but I'd also quite like to find out who exactly it was who liaised to arrange the trip. But I'm very interested to find out primarily who their chief executives are, and what their activities are in the immediate locale. If they have an office or anything. They're probably in Boston, I'd imagine.
The CEO or president is named Mr. Michael Abelard. 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 It seems as though, I might have to correct this later, but I think I'm getting this right if memory serves. It seems their core headquarters, where they're based out of, is actually in Canada. So they're an international company. As far as like what they're doing in that area, there's no real details about that.
Hmm. Well, that's no surprise, is it? These big chemical combines have got their fingers in so many pies.
Right. And they're not always upfront with what they're doing.
But just trying to think. The crash happened in October 29, didn't it?
I believe you're right.
So
October
they're
20.
doing quite well. They're paying for trips for students.
Yeah, or maybe you could look at that the other way, in that they're getting cheap labor by doing it through students.
It could be. Yeah, maybe it's hoping to hit something worth their while, aren't they? And minimizing the survey costs. Yeah, that makes sense.
What you got a really good score, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Yes.
10, I think, or something. I'm just going to give you one other little chunk of information. There's only a brief mention of it in one of the newspaper articles that you come across, in that the CEO's president, his son, is junior, and he apparently had an accident, and he's no longer living.
Okay. Does it say anything about the nature of the accident? Or?
It doesn't really get into any details. It's sort of like it wasn't the main focus of the newspaper article. It was just a passing, like, well, had his son been still alive, he may have taken over the company, that, something like that.
Hmm. I'll what's the American equivalent of the Financial Times? That would be the Wall Street Journal.
Mm-hmm.
I will make a mental note to. Did you know? Not only I'll make a mental note to start reading the Wall Street Journal in future. I think actually I'll look through it today. Just I'd quite like to see how the Federated Oil and Chemical share price is holding up. Whether they're doing well, getting by, or doing poorly. So
I would say getting by.
Getting by. Hmm.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm gonna go back to Jerry. Jerry, the scientist student assistant, he eventually turns to you and he says, right, so let's take a look at this. And he takes it and he's looking at it first of all, and he first thing is he's inspecting the jar itself. There's nothing fancy about it, right? I mean, it's an old jar basically. But it seems to be, what do you call it? Is it the mason jar with the seal on it at the top?
Seal. Yeah.
So it seems to be sealed. But he's looking at you about, when he asked you about whether or not it was dangerous, and you kind of give him it might be. So he brings it over to one of those, what are they called? Where there's like a sliding glass, like a hood almost, shield. So it's just a little workstation. He can put it behind glass, reach his arms around, and he starts to unscrew it. And you hear like a little suction noise to it. And he lifts the lid off, and you can see that kind of like gooey brown stuff is still stuck to the lid. And he takes a little sample of it. Is there anything you want to ask him like while he's doing it, or are you just kind of sitting quietly observing?
If I observe something that would inspire me to ask him a question, I might. Otherwise, I don't really want to like interrupt him. If he's doing something that I don't understand what he's doing, I might ask. It's weird enough to me. Otherwise, I just want to carefully observe, see if I notice anything interesting.
Now, you're catching me off guard because I'm not a scientist either. So, but I'm trying to think based on what I do know. He starts doing what are like considered the easy tests first. And well, let's just do this. So, he's rather meticulous about it. He's afraid at first that it might be dangerous, but after he catches a whiff of it, kind of turns his nose like it smells horrible.
Horrible like what?
Yeah, like foul, like something rotten or dead. But that's, in a way, that's a good sign because like he was kind of expecting like it might smell like gasoline. Right. Or
can I smell that from where I'm standing?
Do a smell test or a spot hidden.
Smell hidden.
Smell hidden.
Smell hidden. Because he's trying to be careful with it. So.
Extreme success.
Okay, yeah. He kind of walks past you and you get a waft in your face.
And is it, as he said, horrible and rotten?
Yep. Smells nasty.
Like a dead animal or a dead plant?
Dead plant. But there's almost like a hint of like sweetness. Like something smells sweet. So he first, he does those sort of basic observations. Then he puts it on a slide and he takes it under a microscope. He starts looking at it on the microscope. And after what seems to be a really long time, he kind of he's got some notes. He's got some things written down. And finally he looks at the paper and he looks it back up at you. And he says, it's a jar of preserved peaches.
Well, apparently they're not preserved very well. Nothing else in there?
That's, from what I can tell, that's all it is. It just looks like maybe some air got in there, or it wasn't done correctly, and it spoiled. And
they're your lucky peaches, Jerry.
Well, if there was anything more interesting down there, I wish I'd have taken that instead.
And he sort of just looks at you, and he takes the jar, and he looks at you and is like, do you want them back?
I suppose.
Okay.
I try not to look like I actually care because I realize that's weird. But, all right.
All right.
I head over to the library.
Sure. Do a spot hidden for me.
Not this time.
Okay. All right, so you catch up with the guys.
93 isn't bad enough to be terrible, right? It's just bad.
That's pretty bad. But
okay, yeah, so it's a 93.
We'll just say you're not paying attention. So
I'm pretty disappointed about the peaches.
Yep.
Yeah. At least I know that the only reason they're lucky peaches is probably because I made them lucky peaches.
That's probably it.
That's right.
So you meet up with the other guys at the library. What do you guys want to do now?
Well, does Jerry
What
want
did
to
you find?
anything?
Well, I asked these guys what they found.
I found stuff on the Abenaki tribe.
Like what?
They're Algonquin speakers. Well, they have a lot of animal spirits and stuff like pugwudgies that live in the woods. And
Do they have mole spirits?
no, there just seem to be. I mean, there's like Azaban and Miko, which are tree like raccoons and squirrels. It's mostly correspond to. Pugwudgies is probably the closest that would come because they're like little people that live in the woods, but it doesn't give any descriptions of them.
I suppose I'll take a look through the same section. I paid some special attention to Indian law the last few years. I even reviewed it before we departed. Maybe something will stand out. So, Jeff, I looked through the same section.
Okay.
Oh, you got your lucky peaches. Maybe you'll get lucky.
I don't tell you guys that's what they are.
I
Should
know
I
what
even
they're
roll
all.
Jeff? Should I roll Jeff or what?
Danny asked Jerry, is it demon brains? Is in that?
No.
Is it molasses?
Closer. It's just improper preserves, or at least that's all it looks like chemically.
He's been so obsessed with them that he's always held them in his hand like this. And if you turn the bottle around, it says peaches.
So, do you want me to roll anything, Jeff, or do
Well,
I need to ask about a different thing that they didn't find already?
yeah, that's kind of why I'm hesitating in that, like the other guys have been searching for hours on this. So it's almost like they're kind of looking at you like, why are you looking at the same thing that I just looked at? So unless there's something like specific you want to ask me, maybe I can.
Okay, then sure. Is there any native lore from these regions that has anything at all to do with either specifically otherworldly things, right? Not animal or nature spirits, not the mole people, much weirder stuff, or anything about those kind of things in connection with the mounds. Even though the mounds normally shouldn't be found in that region, I know enough about the mound lore, I think, that I'd be able to find anything outstanding about that if it was in the library.
So I'm going to ask you to do a library roll, but not so much for the like the information that you're finding. I want to see like how much time this is taking.
Okay. Let's see. Well, long enough to roll a 95.
Okay. All right. Danny, Jasper, and Tug, could you three do a spot hidden?
Oh, 8.
Oh, wow.
Pass.
I genuinely can't see anything now because
Apparently, I used up my good roll for the day on the lucky peaches.
flashed in my eye.
That's a hard, but it's not as extreme.
Okay.
I got 14 out of 60, which is also a hard, not an extreme.
Okay. See, now I feel bad because I only really needed one of you to pass, but now you guys wasted some really good rolls on that. Tug, you're sort of getting impatient. Like, you know, you've spent several hours in the library already, and you're kind of like wandering around at this point, kind of bored, looking out the window, and you notice off in the distance, coming down the street and coming around one of the side buildings, you see the two cars that you drove to the expedition and the geology truck from the school. So basically, you see them returning to the parking lot area.
Can I see where they park, and then if the kids are actually getting out of them?
Yeah, it's kind of like across the campus, like on the other side. So it's quite a distance. But you know the area from before because that's where you left from.
I can see kids getting out, but I can't see their faces.
Yeah.
What time is it right now?
Let's say it's A little afternoon. You spent basically all morning there.
So I look at them and I'm like, so they're not vampires. Okay. Day vampires. I want to go talk to somebody, especially the girls.
Well, Charlie came back with you, but for the sake of the story, she's busy.
Well,
And so the only other girl was Clarissa.
I want to see if I can find Blaine. Let's see, like, what the fuck, dude? And then it dawns on me. Oh, no. What if they were getting even for my little prank in the beginning with the Bigfoot feet? Guys! And I go and find them.
And the librarian, shh.
Yeah. Guys. What if Blaine and the others were getting even for my little prank with the Bigfoot feet last night? They just got back, by the way. I saw them pull in.
I'm trying to remember, was it Blaine that was the one that we were shouting on and trying to get to come into the house?
Yeah, he was like, come outside, guys. Come outside.
Yeah, I want to batter him. I want to talk to him.
Let's go get him and beat the shit out of him.
Come on. Jasper, are you in?
Well, I'm not sure I want to beat him, but
Okay,
I guess I want to know what's going on.
We'll give you the ears and the tail.
we better not get into trouble, right enough.
Yeah. But he better tell us what the hell's up.
And the guys that Jasper, you said got pulled up.
Yeah, I saw them in the parking lot. I couldn't see their faces, but
I want to see if they look all right, because something weird happened to me when we were out trying to shoot that thing.
well, they're not vampires because it's noon. They would all burst into flames.
I didn't think they were vampires, Tug. Come on, stop going on about that.
Let's go.
Ever
Terry, are you coming?
Ever since you read that Montague Summons book, you've just
yeah, all right.
vampires all the time. Too much, man. Too much. I mean, talk about vampires now and then, but not all the time.
They might be more like Heckle and Jekyll now.
I call them as I see them.
That would be my bet. I'd say they're more of a Heckle and Jekyll thing. I reckon they've had some kind of concoction.
Jasper, I got something to show you later. Okay?
All right. You guys pack up your stuff. Well, you don't really have stuff, but you put away your research materials.
Oh, yeah, they brought back our stuff, too. Let's go get our stuff.
Yeah. And you start making your way over there. The people are just sort of milling about. So, they've been there for a few minutes already, and they're basically putting some stuff away, returning the geology equipment to the garage, unloading their own suitcases and bags and stuff like that. So when you get there, you see a couple people. The first person you see, though, is the professor. And the professor just kind of looks at you like,
I don't want to talk to the professor. I want to talk to somebody who was there last night.
Well, you're looking, and you don't see Blaine.
Well, who's the first person I see that was there last night? I can remember.
You tell me.
How about Henry? Harold.
Harold, yep. Higgins?
Yeah.
Yep, you see him. He's got his suitcase under his arm, and he's sort of half walking away already.
All right, I'm going to run up to him. Higgins.
And he turns around and, yeah, what
happened last night?
What do you mean, what happened?
What happened?
You mean what happened? You mean about you getting arrested?
No, at the party.
The party that you were drinking?
The party that everyone was drinking at.
Were they?
with Blaine outside and calling out to us and all the crazy shit that went on.
And he kind of like gives you a little smirk, and he's like, "You fell for it? They got you?
You fucker. You're telling me that was all? How were you lifted up off the ground?"
And he like looks around, and he's, you know, making sure none of the other students are hearing this. And he's like, "Do you know how long it took us to get those ropes strung up?"
I'm just going to turn around and walk the fuck away. I'm really pissed.
When Danny sees Tug coming up and look like a steam train, he's like, what happened? What's going on?
He says it was all fake. They faked it to scare the shit out of us. They lifted them up with ropes.
For a second, Danny believes it, and then he's remembering this claw-like thing that came over the edge of the roof, and it's like, that's crazy. That's nonsense.
Some sort of prop, maybe? They're lucky we didn't shoot them all.
It would have had to have been a lot drunker than they were to be willing to take the risk of getting shot through a roof.
I'm so red and angry right now. I don't know how to talk.
Jeff, I walk up to the rest of the group.
Okay, hold on one second. Tug, trying to think what role this could be. I'm going to ask you for a spot hidden, I think. But I'm going to ask you for a penalty die.
Okay, 14 on the first roll.
Oh, man.
And 90. So
yep.
I didn't get it.
You're angry.
I'm so angry. And I'm embarrassed because I should have guessed that it was fake, but I was drunk. So.
Okay, sorry. Jerry, what were you doing?
No problem. I walk up to the rest of the group. Are they still milling around? Just
yeah, like some of them have started wandering off already. Some of them, have already grabbed their bags. They're starting to head out.
I find whichever one's like the other like upperclassmen. Since I don't see Blaine, right?
You don't see Blaine. How about Clarissa? Will she do?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. You sort of had an affinity towards her, I think.
Well, that was quite a party. Is she just ignoring me, Jeff, or is this a GM-induced pause?
She's got her head down. She's looking for. She can't get her bag out of the car.
I help her with the bag then.
Don't help her too quickly, though.
Here we go.
I'm sure I don't.
She's sort of like. Well, tell me how you do that.
Help her with the bag?
Yeah.
The way Danny said, probably not too, I don't know, probably not too obsequiously. I probably wait until she's like really struggling with it. And then I probably don't ask, do you need some help? I probably, if I can see her literally trying to lift it, I might like give it a nudge or something.
Okay. So I'm going to say this. So she wasn't actually aware that you were standing there. So she kind of like startles at first, and as you go to reach for the bag handle to help her to pull on the bag, she like takes her hip and kind of like hip bumps you, like, I got it.
Well, you seem all together then. You seemed a little bit more unnerved last night. Well, or was it the night before? It's been a rough couple of days after everything that happened.
Yeah, that's I just want to get home and get a shower and rest.
Well, that's about how I felt when we came back. So, well, what about Blaine? Did he make it back all right?
Yeah, he took off. I mean, as soon as we parked the car, he was out of the car and gone. He said he was doing the same thing. He said he was going back to his apartment.
Well, I know you're tired, and I could just as well ask him later, but I will anyway. I really want to know what do you recall about last night? There's a couple of folks saying that some drunken pranks and chicanery were involved, but, well, this seems a little implausible.
There's a certain amount of impatientness almost to her. Like, you know, she's like looking to just get away from you at this point. And she's kind of like, you know, I don't really remember. That was 2 nights ago. I remember you guys were drinking. You know, I remember we went for a little walk around the building, but that's kind of like all I remember.
Well, if that's all you remember, then I'm thinking that a few of us weren't the only ones drinking, Clarissa.
I think I had some of that punch.
I think you may have.
I think you gave it to me.
I think I may have.
Was that all?
Well, I don't think so. I roll psychology. I'm finding this extremely difficult to believe that she doesn't remember gunshots. And I realize I probably am more sensitive to gunshots now than most, but nevertheless, on a 95, another 95, just twice in a row. What do I think about this?
You tell me. What do you think?
Does a 95 imply, since I don't know what the truth is as a player, does a 95 imply that you always just believe the person? Does it imply some suspicion when it happens to be false?
Well, I'll tell you this, because it's certainly how she's acting and how she's describing the night to you back, like, you know, telling you that she doesn't remember it and all that. It's definitely like raising a red flag with you. You know, like, you were there, you know what happened.
So the 95 doesn't cause me to no longer be suspicious.
Right. Well, I mean, you're suspicious anyway. You know,
I certainly am.
So far from what your memory of it was, that it's confusing.
Right.
And with that, she kind of spins on her heel and starts to walk away.
I just call after, well, you might as well ask Blaine what he remembers, because it would take more than a spiked punch to lead to you forgetting some of the things that went on, and even more than spiked punch to make you see it if it wasn't there. I probably seem frustrated and angry at that point, and I don't mind showing it.
Sure.
And then I probably just stand there and then rejoin the other guys. I'd probably wait to see if anybody else says anything, and then hopefully have enough wit, since the 95 was only on psychology on her, probably have enough wit to look at the rest of the group. Mm-hmm. How do they react when they... Like, I raise my voice, right? I'm not shouting in rage, but I'm calling out pretty loudly. How are other people responding in this group of people? If at all, are they just ignoring it?
Yeah, it's almost a matter of, like, that you might get a look or two, like they look over, like, what are you on about? But
so they're looking normal, basically.
Pretty
nothing seems weird.
It's really like, you know, they're tired, they're exhausted, they just want to get home and get a shower.
All right. Are the other guys of our party still standing around? I'll go rejoin them. Well,
I say we go find Blaine.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I think nobody wants to get in trouble.
Well, she was lying too, and if so, only by omission. I don't know how much you'd have to drink to forget. If not the crab claws, to forget the gunshots.
They just don't want to admit they pulled this big prank on us. They don't want to get in trouble.
Clarissa didn't look amused.
She's tired. It was yesterday.
Whether they pulled a prank or not, Tug, there was something going on at the house that night, last night, or the night before.
You know, Blaine's not that clever.
Let's get Blaine. Did Blaine go home?
Higgins,
Clarissa said he went home, that he was tired.
does he stay on campus or is he off campus?
You know,
I don't know.
Damn.
So none of us are friends with Blaine. I'm going to talk to the professor for a second.
Okay.
So I'm going to go up to the professor and say, Professor, did any of these guys admit to you that they pulled some weird prank on us? That's what got us in trouble last night. It's their fault we got in trouble. They admit that to you.
He looks at you with a slightly confused, like kind of squints his eyes a little bit, and he's like, "You were in jail, aren't you?"
We were in jail early this morning, yeah.
Isn't that why you got in trouble?
The police came because they pulled some sort of prank on me, and we were so scared we started shooting. They're lucky we didn't shoot them. But now it turns out they were playing a prank on us. That's what Higgins said.
There's like just a kind of a blank stare. Like the professor's like, "Why are you telling me this?" Like the professor is like, you got in trouble because you got yourself in trouble. It's got nothing.
Yeah, we didn't get ourselves in trouble. They got us in trouble. And I want them to confess.
So did they make you drink?
There's nothing illegal about drinking. We didn't buy any alcohol. Somebody slipped the alcohol into the punch. They were all drinking. Where's Blaine? Did Blaine come back?
Yeah, he came back with us, but he took off as soon as we got here.
Well, maybe we should just let it go, but I think that we should get to the bottom of who pulled this. That was a pretty elaborate trick. They had us thinking that there were monsters outside attacking the building.
And he looks at you again and he's like, "Monsters?"
Well, something was grabbing them and taking them up. Higgins said they had ropes and they were pulling them up onto the roof. I mean, there's one thing to play pranks, but it's another thing to let it go so far that we start shooting our guns and they don't fess up to actually pulling a prank. We were all trapped. I just go on and on. We were trapped inside the house, and all this, and they made us think it was vampires, and we were drunk. We were a little drunk, so was everybody else, but they were playing on our terror and our paranoia, and then we got in trouble for it.
Yeah. The response is kind of the same. Very, some of the things you're talking about with monsters and all, the professor wasn't there when all this happened, so he's getting this from you.
So none of them have confessed to it.
Correct. Right.
Fuck. Danny's kind of standing behind the professor going like that.
Well, I storm away. I'm so angry. And I like to, as I walk by them, I give them the all universal "fuck you all." And then I'm gonna go back to my dorm because I'm so angry. I have to calm down.
Okay. Just storm it off. Red with anger.
Yeah.
Is there a good chance Danny knows one of the students that maybe knows what's the guy's name?
Blaine.
Blaine's kind of home address. Is there anybody know that? Does he have any good friends or anything like that I could ask?
Clarice is his boyfriend. I mean the other way around.
Oh, is she?
Where is it?
You know, I don't think I'm going to turn that around on you. Do you know if any of the other students knew Blaine's address?
Well, I could always try an idea roll.
I'm going to make you work for it a little bit.
So really, all Danny would really do is anybody that's associated with Blaine kind of on a regular basis, if they haven't either arrived and just left or are not on campus, I would be looking for whoever that would be. You know, if there's somebody that hangs about with them a bit.
Wasn't there a rumor that he was possibly having a relationship with one of his students?
So Blaine is not a teacher; he's a student too.
Oh, he is a student. Oh, sorry. No, he was there. But I'm sure, isn't he?
Yeah, Clarissa.
Yeah, him and Clarissa.
They were snogging.
Is Clarissa gone? Has she left the premises?
Yeah, she already stormed off.
I don't know what we should do.
Well, we'll get him tomorrow at school.
Well, look, if he never comes back, that tells us something of its own.
So let's do this. It's sort of now late afternoon. You guys are probably hungry. Tug, you stormed off. You need to calm down. Danny, Jasper, and Jerry, you're sort of left standing there like, you know, what about Tug? Why did you just storm off? What are we supposed to do now? So why don't you guys just think about how tomorrow you would go about trying to find Blaine's address. And then I think next session we can pick up.
Okay.
Well, do I know that Clarissa lives in the dorms?
I'll let you do an idea roll to find that out.
Success.
Okay. You know what else? Why don't all four of you do an idea roll? Because I want to mention something.
Again?
Yeah.
Again. Okay.
I got a 12.
I got 69 out of 70.
Okay.
69.
Yeah, pass as well.
I got another success.
I got it, but I'm sweating a lot with the effort.
I just wanted to mention this. I think if you remember back in my descriptions and so forth, the whole connection between Blaine and Clarissa, Blaine was always sort of, what's the word? Like, I can't think of the word. Like, almost protective of her, you know, kind of.
He seemed a little possessive even. Maybe a bit territorial.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, territorial. But you never saw Clarissa really return any of that. Clarissa always just sort of tolerated him.
Oh, so we never caught them kissing, huh?
Correct, right.
Okay. So he was in love with her, but she was indifferent. Okay.
It's almost like, she was sort of like just enjoying the attention, but never necessarily returning it.
But Jeff, am I correct that I don't remember her seeming... She acted toward Jerry like she was going to go find Blaine. So she, unless I'm misrecalling that, she at least gave Jerry the impression she was more interested in Blaine than in him. Am I remembering that correctly?
I'm going to let you remember that how you remember it.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be rewatching the shows or anything, so
right,
that's how I remember it. So yep. Jerry probably believes that they're,
yep,
you know, if not an item, at least quite friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Excellent.
And do I remember where Clarissa lives? That was the first idea roll.
You passed that, right?
Yeah.
So you know she's in the women's dorm. Yeah.
That's what I thought. So Jerry's plan is to watch for her, and if he watches for her, eventually he'll see Blaine.
Okay.
Or he won't, and that'll be weird too. And if he never sees Blaine, it's an excuse to talk to her again.
Yep.
And if she, questions Jerry, he can always make out like, why is she following him around, or something like that.
Right.
So.
All right. Our players included Ken Trench, George Sieg, Mick Swan, and myself, with Jeff Wilkins as the keeper of the secrets. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We like reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good game.